One very common sign of having grown up with an emotionally neglectful parent or emotionally abusive, emotionally distant parent is someone who was never able to admit their wrongdoing, admit that they're wrong in certain situations. And this happens whenever any frustration comes up, right? Where the child or any sibling of yours may have questioned something that they were doing, challenged them, or just asked for more explanation. They simply reacted with anger, with resorting to yelling, to negative actions that truly do have a deep impact on somebody that's growing up in a household like that. They start to find themselves holding back everything and completely shutting themselves off from ever expressing anything to the parent for fear of setting them off like a bomb that can go off at any time. You don't want to disturb it. You don't want to cause it any friction. You don't want to cause it to possibly explode, right? And that's something that people has have expressed to me is feeling like they could set their parents off at any moment. And this leads to never developing that core trust with an authority figure, right? Because the parents need to be able to have that authority in a smart way, right? In an intelligent way where you should be able to go to them and get advice, guidance, and see that they're living that guidance through an example, right? They're actually a living example of that. And whenever you are right or they weren't 100% correct, admit that they were wrong, as that's what develops trust, right? That there's two sides to what's going on and they're not just holding themselves correct for everything and anything that's going on. So just keep in mind if this is something that you did grow up with, right, where you always felt like you had to be careful with what you were saying or couldn't say anything that could be seen as negative, right? As you could instantly feel rejected, whether it was through that anger or through silent treatments, through any emotionally immature way to deal with certain situations, right? You may have grown up with a parent that was not emotionally available. And a lot of the times I've even heard that their household was completely normal. They had everything they needed, a house, food, water, they had joyful times, but whenever it comes to the more difficult situations in life, they could never feel comfortable coming to the parent and connecting with them on another level or even feeling like they could trust them with what was going on or any questions they may have had. And this extends even later into adulthood and it just creates this wall that you could never overcome with a parent, right? So that is going to affect how you build relationships, how you maintain relationships, what kinds of relationships you do seek out, and how you begin them as well. I've seen that some people become very clingy, very easily made jealous, overall, just very self conscious of trying not to upset the other person or trying not to lose them based on what they're doing, right? So be very careful if these are behaviors that you've seen in your life and you recognize that you may have grown up with a parent that way, as there may be a lot more behaviors you may be holding on to until you come to terms with this and you truly take a look inside and acknowledge that this is something that negative that you could have gone through. And some of the more severe behaviors that some parents have towards their children can be counted as emotional trauma or emotional abuse, as it's something that we don't have physical marks on our bodies for, but there is deep psychological effects that end up happening over time.